Okay, check it out. Now we're going to start balancing equations using a new method called the bar method. And this is fun for those of you who like to draw. And it is a very simple way that you'll be able to draw things out instead of writing things out. And if you don't know how to draw bars, I think you better learn if you want to do this method. Okay, so let's get right into it. We're going to use the examples that we used in the last video. Let's start off with 2x plus 1 equals 5. Okay, so we've got 2x plus 1 equals 5. Now, the bar method is we're going to draw a bar for x, and there's two of them, right? So there's two x's, and there is a 1. Now, the second bar that we draw is the other side. So the first side, which is all this right here, is right here. The second side is going to be in this space right there. So this is a 5. Now if we know that it's going to be equal, 2x plus 1 is definitely going to be equal to 5. They balance the equation. So these ends will not move. Do you have to draw things to scale? Meaning, does 1 have to be 1 block and 5 be 5 blocks? No, it can be a general area. So we know if this is 1, then this block right here would be 1. If this is 1 and this whole area is 5, that means this block would be 4. Now you have 2 blocks left right there, and you have to divide them evenly between 4. So how do you divide 4 evenly between 2? You're right, x would equal 2. Now if I redraw this right over here, let's see if it actually equals and if x does equal 2. That was the first x, and let's say that's 2, and that would be 1. Remember on the bottom, it's all equal, and it's supposed to equal 5. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 equals 5, and 5 and 5 are equal. Perfect! Okay, let's get to the next example. Alright, the next example is x minus 3 equals 4. There's an extra step with subtraction numbers that have to do with subtraction, and that is just showing a number line. I'll show you in a second. Alright, let's start the first bar. X minus 3. X minus 3. And that is a balanced equation with 4. Whatever it is, it's always going to be balanced. Always. So this side and this side are always going to be equal if we're balancing equations. We're always trying to just solve for x. So now we take a look. What could x be that when you subtract 3, it would equal 4? What could it be? If you're using mental math, you know that it's 7. But how can we be sure? The way that we can be sure is using an open number line. And we're going to start with the lowest number, which is negative 3. So we'll start with negative 3 over here, and we're going to end up with our sum, which is 4 over here. Now let's get to 0. What do I have to add to negative 3 to get to 0? 3. What do I have to add to 0 to get to 4? What that equals is 3 plus 4 equals 7. If we input 7 right here, we should get negative 4. Does x equal 7? I don't know. Let's try it. So here's our first box for x, and this was minus 3. If we put 7 there, does it equal 4? Yeah, it does. Okay, on to the next example. 3x plus 2 equals 11. All right. Let's draw our 3 x's. Let's write in our x's and our 2. And remember, all of this is equal to 11. So we have to find out what are these numbers that add up together with 2 that equals 11. And you might be able to solve it with mental math already. If we take this out and say that this is 2, then this whole thing still has to be 11. So we would subtract 2 from this. This would be 9 now, because 9 plus 2 would equal 11. Now what we have to do is divide 9 into these 3. What's 9 divided by 3? Well, if you guess 3, let's try it. If x equals 3, 3, 3, and 2, 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 2 Hopefully it equals 11. And does it? Yes, it does. Check-a-rooney. Let's move on to the last example. The last example is 2x minus 3 equals 5. It's a negative, so we'll use a number line if we don't understand it. X and the minus 3. Let's put 5. What are these numbers when added together and then subtracted by 3 would actually equal 5? If you're using mental math, you probably would have guessed it already. But if you want to use the number line to be sure, let's draw the number line again, just like that. We'll start off with negative 3 over here, with 5 over here, and we're going to aim for 0. How many jumps do we need to get to 0? And we would add 3. And how many would we need to get to 5? We would need 5. 3 plus 5 equals 8. Does x equal 8? No, it doesn't. But we know that both these x's would be 8. So we would have to divide 8 into these x's. And let's try that. If we divide 8 by 2, what do we come up with? And it should be 4. So let's try that. If we had x equaling 4, let's try 4 minus 3, and does it equal 5? 4 plus 4 is 8, minus 3 equals 5. So this one is also check-a-rooney. Dunzo. The reason why I like the block method is because you can visually see the equations just changing before you. And all you're doing is crossing things out. Yes, sometimes that you have to use, the number line, but who doesn't like jumping? Come on now, let's try it. If you have any questions, rewatch the video or ask me questions. Happy mathing!